Morning, Woodrow families. This year, I decided to start a simple series to help some of our parents. And I've chosen a couple of different topics that I feel like are considered hot topics, just to give you some tips, some ideas, some things that can help with your kids when they're at home. And it's called Coffee with the Counselor. So I have my iced coffee today since it's still a little hot outside. Hopefully, we can have a couple of these sessions together. They won't last very long. I'll do them periodically and get them posted to our YouTube, Woodrow Cummins YouTube page. And feel free to call anytime, email me anytime if you have questions about anything I talk about at any point. Today, our topic is going to be anxiety. And if I look down every once in a while, I'm looking at my notes. So don't have a teleprompter, anything fancy like that. So I want to make sure you know that if your child feels anxious, they are not alone. Childhood anxiety is becoming more and more common. And now there's around 4.4 million children between the ages of 3 and 17 who have been diagnosed with anxiety. And now this number only includes the ones that have been diagnosed. So we try to kind of think about the ones that haven't. So there's probably more out there. Because childhood anxiety is so prevalent now, lots of parents, teachers, people in the community are asking how it's best to support a child when anxiety strikes. So I want to share with you some things that you can do, some things that you can try, some things that you can say, some things that you probably shouldn't say, and see if that can kind of help you. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and hopefully you'll be able to see this presentation. All right, like I said, let's talk a little bit today about anxiety. So first, thinking about tips for you, what can you do? Okay, one of the most important things you can do is you can remind your child that their feelings are valid, that they're okay. Okay, give them some time and some space to share how they feel without judgment. Okay, by reminding your child that it's okay to feel anxious, we validate that experience they're having, and it gives them permission to work through it. One thing that you can do is you can set a time each day or maybe week to talk about their worries. You can have a journal maybe that they write in when they experience those, or a special little jar that they can write something down and stick it in the jar. And then that time that you pick, you guys can sit down and talk about those things. And this provides the safe space for children to work through their worries and to see that you want to process those feelings with them. They feel that support. It's also important to focus on things that can be controlled and things that cannot be controlled. So an example would be if your child's worried about a test coming up, remind them that they can't control what questions are on that test, but they can control how prepared they are. And the last thing to consider, a good tip for parents, is to consider and know it's important to make sure that your anxieties are in check. That's hard for grown-ups sometimes because we just want to go and we want to fix. We want to help the child. We want to move past it. Okay, but we have to make sure that we're in a good place to help them first, because if we're not, kids are going to pick up on that. You guys know that. You've experienced, I certainly have experienced it. When I'm grouchy or when I'm stressed about something or upset about something, students are very quick to pick up on that, and they react to that. They feed off that, I guess is a better way to say it. So those are just some basic tips, but just remember, you have to validate those feelings. You can't just brush it off and say, this isn't a big deal, you're overreacting, because that's going to cause them to shut down. They're not going to want to share anything. They're going to feel like something's wrong with them or that they're being silly. What they're worried about is not a big deal. So next, let's talk about some things that you can say when they're feeling anxious, and then also some things that you should stay away from. Okay. When you're talking to them about their anxiety, it can be really hard to know what to say. But the most important thing for you to remember is to validate their feelings and let them know that you're there for support. Here are some really great things that you can say. Let's work through this together. How can I help you? saying, I know this is hard. I know has you worried. I know you're anxious about this. Reassure them that they're safe, that you're there for them, you're not going anywhere. And then just ask them, what are you worried about? Tell me, let's talk about it. Okay. They're very simple statements, okay, but they're not going to fix the problem for the child, but it's going to let them know that they're okay and that they're supported. Now, on the flip side, okay, it's important not to dismiss their worries. This can make a child feel foolish or silly for sharing their feelings, and it's going to probably make them reluctant to share with you in the future. Another really common phrase, and one that I've used before, is just to say, just stop worrying, just stop. Well, the thing with anxiety is it's not a switch. You can't just flip it on and off. And your intentions are good when you say stop worrying, okay? But it may cause the child to feel like they're a failure because they can't just simply stop. Okay. Some other things like get over it. That's not a big deal. I don't understand why you're so worried about this. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. The best thing for you to do is to validate their feelings and work through it together to help your child manage them. So now you may be thinking, okay, well, what are some things I can do to help them manage? So let's look at some coping strategies. The deal with coping strategies is that some work better than others. Some work for kids, some others don't work at all. You have to kind of play around with these and see what works best. So here's some really good ideas. Something that I practice with students at school is deep breathing. Guys, you can simply Google that and just look up different types of breathing techniques. There's some really fun ones out there that make them feel like, they're not even really trying to do deep breathing. It's just something fun for them to do. Also, finding somebody that they trust, somebody that they can talk to. That could be you, but it could also be another adult. It doesn't always have to be you. Like I mentioned before, journaling, drawing things, that's a big help. Practicing gratitude's very good. They say that, for every worry, you try to think of 3 to 4 things that you're grateful for. And just kind of brainstorming those things, even making a list or drawing pictures of things that they're grateful for, could be a quick reminder and kind of get them to focus more on that than what they're worried about. Focus on what you can control, not the things that you can't. Okay. Be very honest about that. Always using that positive self-talk, those things that are good to say. And one of the big ones they say is exercising. So hopefully you guys have gotten some ideas. Again, like I said when we started, if you have questions or if you would like more information, feel free to call me or email me. I'm happy to help however I can. And hopefully I'll see you back here in a couple of weeks with Coffee with the Counselor. We'll move on to the next topic. Thank you guys so much for your time and enjoy the rest of your day.